All right, guys, I'm doing a deep dive on the house of Serge Lutens. It's a house that I've kind of skipped over ever since they decided to pull out of North America. So during the height of the pandemic, I think it was 2021, I did a video on this as I heard the news and I was quite shocked. And I also heard from a few retailers that were actually not stocking Serge Lutens fragrances anymore, and they were clearing them out because Serge Lutens pulled out of North America. They have an online presence, but I don't think they have distribution in the States anymore, or maybe in North. I think it's the entirety of the Americas. So it's been a bit difficult for me to get Serge Lutens fragrances, but within the last year or so, I've been buying a bit when I visit France, if there's a lot of different stores there and also retailers that sell the brand. But I've been a fan of the house, and the older I get, the more I realize that this house is one of the probably the best niche fragrance houses that had ever existed, because if you look at their catalog of fragrances, they do have some amazing fragrances. And this last trip I went to Europe, like a couple months ago, I bought a bottle of, what did I buy? It's L'Orpheline. I think I mentioned it to you guys once in a video. And then prior to that, I bought a bottle of, if I can find it, Serge Noir. And then before that, I bought a bottle of Fumerie Turque. Next time I go, I probably will buy another bottle, and so on and so on. But today I'm doing a deep dive video on this house, but I have a total of 19 fragrances, so not that many. And I haven't been buying as many, but as I said, I've been picking up one every time I go. I do enjoy the house. The fragrances are created by Christopher Sheldrake. So if you're a fan of his fragrances, I think he does mostly fragrances for Serge Lutens. And recently, also a few trips ago, I did a video with Christopher Sheldrake, who has just created the fragrances for Spatturno. The video is on the channel if you want to watch him discuss those fragrances for Spatturno. You can tune into that video. But the brand started out, I think, initially with a fragrance called Féminité du Bois, and it was for Shiseido. If you're curious to learn about how the bottle looks, you should look online. Just type in Shiseido Féminité du Bois. So Shiseido is a Japanese beauty brand, and I believe that's where Serge Lutens got its start. And then the fragrance was moved to Serge Lutens, I believe. And I don't know how those technicalities happen, but that's what happened from what I've read. And of course, the brand's been around for years. And again, one of the best niche houses out there. I mean, I do have some negatives about the house. I think but as smells go, if you like great smells, this is a brand that you should not skip over, because some of the fragrances, or a lot of the fragrances, as far as smell goes, are some of the best. I kind of wish that some of these fragrances would be a bit bigger. They are louder and things like that, but they're made in the best French way. So I think these are the kind of, this is the kind of way the fragrances are worn in France. But it's a French brand. But sometimes I do wish that the fragrances were a bit louder. But when it comes to the smell, these smells are some of the most amazing smells. So I first discovered the brand in the late 2000s. And early in the 2010s, I believe I discovered at Barney's here in San Francisco, which Barney's completely went out of business. But I was on a trip to Europe, and it was actually Germany, not France, that I came upon a department store, and they had Serge Lutens fragrances there. Ended up buying a few bottles. The very first bottle I bought was the very first fragrance, Féminité du Bois, and then also ended up buying CHERGUI. And then I ended up receiving a nice stash of samples from the associate who sold me the fragrances, a ton of them. So it was a great way for me to discover the brand and learn about their fragrances. One of the fragrances in the samples was, wait, not this one. Where is it? I've got some vintage perfume samples here, and also, not samples, bottles. And also I have older bottles versus newer bottles. I'm going to get to all of that. So this is going to be a longer video, but there's going to be less than 20 fragrances. I'm going to give you all the details. It's a great background video, or you can watch and, you know, click through timestamps and things like that. One of the samples was this, Jeu de Peau, which I believe got discontinued, but I think the things that Serge Lutens does with their fragrances is a bit confusing, because I have a bottle of ARABIE, which is in this bottle. It's now moved in to a bell jar bottle. I initially bought my bottle of Fumerie Turque in a bell jar bottle, and I just showed you a little while ago, it's now in a bottle like this. So the brand confuses me a bit, unfortunately, but I still skip over those kind of details because I think as smells go, these are definitely some of the best smells ever. One of the best niche houses and one of the oldest niche houses, and one of the best noses who creates the fragrances of this house. I absolutely adore them. And as I was mentioning, the older I get, the more I realize this is one of the best brands that has ever existed for niche perfumery. But yeah, this confusing part there is, and unfortunately we can't really change that. This is how the brand is. And the last time I walked into a store, and a physical Serge Lutens store, was in Paris. It's the store that was in the Rue Saint-Honoré, and one of the associates recognized me, and he gave me a rundown of all of their fragrances once again, because they do have a pretty extensive catalog, and there's a lot there. And again, since they move things around a lot, it gets really confusing as to why they do that. So after you watch this video, do let me know what else I should pick up. I've been eyeing Borneo. I think it's Borneo some date. That's been on my radar since early on, but I never bought it because it reminds me of other chocolatey patchouli fragrances. But also, I just picked this one up a few months ago. It's at the discounters. I paid full retail, but it's at the discounters at a discounted price here. Well, that's another thing. Since the brand's not distributed, you really cannot go into a physical store and buy them. At least I'm not aware of any stores. ZGO used to carry it. They don't carry it anymore. Lucky Scent used to carry it. They don't carry it anymore. But they end up at the discounters at really great prices. And I will tag these videos if you're up to get them at a discounted price. Not everything will be discounted, and not everything will be available that I'm going to talk to you about here, especially the ones that are in these bottles. But do let me know what your favorite Serge Lutens fragrances are. Do let me know what you first started wearing from this house, how many Serge Lutens fragrances you guys have, and also let me know what I should pick up next after you watch this video. But let's get started. So I've got one sheet, a list of fragrances, and that's all I have. As I said, we're going to start up with the first fragrance. It's Ambre Sultan. You guys familiar with this one? So for a long time, the bottles came in only 50 ml. Then they changed to 100 ml. And in addition to the 50 ml, at least I wasn't aware of a 100 ml bottle in this style when they came like this. But also, look, they've changed some things. Look at the little building right here, and then it's the logo on this one. So the labels have been changed around. This Muscs Koublai Khan is one of the more vintage Muscs Koublai Khan. But again, this is Féminite. I think it's my favorite fragrance from this house. It's now in a bottle like this, so it does get a bit confusing, as I've been mentioning. But Ambre Sultan I discovered probably around 10-12 years ago. It's definitely one of the best amber fragrances. It also kind of reminds me a little bit of a less naughty or less musky take on Absolute Pour Le Soir. It also kind of reminded me a little bit of Mitza by Dior. So it's kind of a spicy, aromatic take on amber. It's quite gorgeous. I love it. It smells great. It also has some green herbal notes in there for a wonderful take on a kind of a resinous, sweet, powdery, spicy, balsamic amber. Amber fragrances are definitely a top 5 note or style of fragrance. And this one is one of the true, unique, and delicious takes on amber. If you like the idea of resins, balsam or balsamic notes, and the amber that's in here is created with resins and balsamic notes and vanilla and labdanum and things like that. So it's an accord. but it's super delicious. Really, really awesome. So, so good. This actually is my second bottle. My first bottle came in a bottle like this. Of course, I went through it. And this is awesome. If you like fragrances like Maître Parfumeur Gantier's Ambre Sultan, you definitely should check that one out. What I like about this one, there's something green herbal aromatic running throughout the kind of golden ambery resinous, you know, touches, balsamic touches that are in there. Super, super awesome fragrance. Really, really awesome. The brand is great. They have some amazing fragrances. I just have to be cautious here because the thing I don't like about these 50 ml bottles is they're wobbly. And if I shake this table that I have here, they're going to bounce around. But let's move on to the next fragrance, which is ARABIE. So this is my very first bottle of ARABIE that I bought probably 12 years ago, 13 years ago, maybe 11, somewhere around there. I haven't finished it, but it's now moved into the bell jar. I'll show you the bell jar. I bought the bell jar just to have. I haven't even opened it yet. As you can see, you've got the perforation right there. But this is my second ever bell jar. And the first bell jar I ever had was a bottle of Fumerie Turque. I ran out of it and forgot about Fumerie Turque. And I was sampling Serge Lutens fragrances recently. Fell in love with it. So last year I bought Fumerie Turque. And it's definitely one of the best tobacco fragrances. So Serge Lutens has not 3, but 4 tobacco fragrances from what I recently discovered. And I actually did a short video on the channel of 3 of the tobacco fragrances, which includes CHERGUI, Fumerie Turque, ECRIN de FUMEE. But I forgot the other one. There's a 4th one. If you guys remember, let me know what it is. Add a comment below. Also, guys, if you want to find out more about Serge Lutens, you can search my channel for past videos. I'm going to go ahead and open this up for the first time since it hasn't been opened up. So there's this perforation back here, and that comes off. And I'm going to add a strip in there. So the unique thing about ARABIE is, let's see if I can get that in there. The cool thing about ARABIE is it's very apricot-y. And it's also spicy, warm spicy. It's almost like macerated apricots, boiled, and then made into paste form. If you guys have ever had fruit roll-ups with the apricot, or there's a kind of like a fruit roll-up paste thing in the Middle East that's all very apricot-based, this totally reminds me of that. It's got that tartness, the sweetness of the apricots, that's super in a different texture, because when it's raw as a fruit, it's different than when it's like turned into the roll-up form or the paste form. But while they were creating this paste form, they thrown in a bunch of spices. So this is a great take on a dried fruity kind of experience. Super spicy, but super apricot forward. Stone fruit to the max. I can see that this has probably apricots as a note, or also maybe osmanthus, because osmanthus creates the stone fruit kind of apricot-y accord. But it totally reminds me of a apricot fruit roll-up, or that pasty kind of Middle Eastern apricot yummy treat that comes in this kind of this wide and this, and it's just a long sheet that's kind of wrapped together, and it's in kind of like a orange cellophane, like plasticky kind of paper, and you open it up and then you take pieces off, like a big roll of fruit roll-ups kind of a thing. And this actually does remind me of that smell. Really, really an awesome experience. So there, I did an unboxing for you guys here with ARABIE. And again, it is currently in the bell jar, but this is one of the older bottles. But it's not as old as this one. I believe this Muscs Koublai Khan bottle is one of the older bottles from Serge Lutens. This is a newer bottle, and it has a different logo, as you can see. The one that says Paris on the bottom, I believe that is their original store. I think it's in the Palais Royal. which if you watch one of my early videos, I think it's a ranked list. At the end of the video, I have a really nice music edited segment of their store, and I think I shot it like 14 or 13 years ago. So I think that's what that this logo is of that particular location, the Palais Royal. So next we've got CHERGUI. CHERGUI. So first I bought Féminité du Bois. You know, even though it has the word féminité, it's a very, I mean, it's kind of a masculine fragrance. It's got a lot of sandalwood or some woody notes in there, but it also has fruits like plums, and I believe there's also peaches in there, more plums. It kind of reminds me a little, well, it's originally it was a Shiseido fragrance, Féminité du Bois. Then it became a Serge Lutens fragrance, but there was a fragrance by Memo Paris called Courtier Latin, which also reminded me of it. And it was more sandalwoody, but a little less plummy. But I think there's other fragrances that are out there on the market that might be similar to Féminité du Bois. But we are talking about CHERGUI. And CHERGUI, when I was first getting into doing videos in 2012, I was watching videos on YouTube for fragrances probably 2009, 2010, 2011, and I started shooting my first videos on a previous channel in 2012, August of 2012, 13 years ago. So I lost my train of thought. No, now I'm back. CHERGUI was one of the fragrances that a lot of the folks that were doing videos on YouTube was the fragrance a lot of YouTubers were talking about. So this is my second bottle. My first bottle was in a tiny bottle like this, a 50 ml. Now I've got the 100 ml. And what's cool about CHERGUI, it's not a smoky tobacco. It's quite spicy though. It's a bit hay-like. And I think that's the fact that it's a leafy tobacco. But when I first bought that fragrance and it got delivered to my house, I opened it up and smelled it. I'm getting that kind of a reaction now with this because it's a unique smell. I've gotten bored of it, but it is a unique smell. It's a unique take on tobacco, and it's fragrances that are not conventional, but still very pleasant smelling. That's what I like about Serge Lutens. They're very unique fragrances, but they don't smell a lot like other fragrances. Sure, some things will remind you of other fragrances, like Ambre Sultan will remind you of other amber fragrances, but I've never smelled anything that's similar to CHERGUI out there. And it's a really great fragrance. It's warm and spicy, but also has a bit of a hay-like effect, leafy, kind of dry and woody as well. Let me know if you're a fan of CHERGUI. But yeah, when I first was watching YouTube, fragrance YouTube, I actually was hearing a lot about this. So my second Serge Lutens fragrance turned out to be CHERGUI, and was happy for a long time and wore it. My third bottle was Ambre Sultan though. Really love that fragrance. The next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about, and I think I need to clarify, some of the fragrances will be difficult to get. Some might even be discontinued. I can't control that. I'm just doing a deep dive on the entire collection of fragrances I have from the house of Serge Lutens. For example, this one I thought might be discontinued. This is called Clair de Musc. So we've got two musk fragrances here. We've got Muscs Koublai Khan, Clair de Musc. This Clair de Musc is a cleaner musk compared to Muscs Koublai Khan, which is a dirty animalic musk. I actually have a full review of Clair de Musc on the channel. It's sweet and powdery, a bit resinous and lightly ambery, but it's a clean musk. It's almost like a white musk with some depth to it. So there's definitely cleanness about it, whereas Muscs Koublai Khan is so dirty, sweaty, animalic. This is super clean and powdery, does have a bit of a baby powder effect, maybe light rose under there as well, but it's clean and super musky, but not dirty at all, and very, very powdery. If you like the idea of baby powder, This is definitely a fragrance you should try if it's still selling. Clair de Musc. There's a lot of fragrances like Clair de Musc. I think musky notes that are clean do work wonderfully with powdery notes, giving you a little bit of a baby powdery effect. This really acts like baby powder to me. But as I was saying, there's an underlying rosiness, slightly. And for some reason, that kind of works really awesomely with musky, powdery fragrances, a rosiness. Let me know if you're a fan of Clair de Musc. Add a comment below. Next, De Profundis. So when I was buying L'Orpheline, I found this fragrance at the store that I was buying it from. But I actually bought this from someone who was getting rid of their collection during the pandemic. And I had never heard about it. I smelled it and I really enjoyed it. It's a fragrance that features chrysanthemum, which is a note that doesn't pop up in fragrances that frequently or that often. But since I like green fragrances, I felt this was quite unique. It smells like spring to me. It's super green and powdery and also lush. There's a lushness about it. Slightly juicy, I was going to say. If you like fragrances like Synthetic Jungle or Nature, this is one that you should try. It doesn't smell identical, but it has a similar greenness. There might even be, Jesus, I'm drawing a blank with the name of the flower. It's a spring flower that's purple and it's kind of long. Anyway, lost my train of thought. It's not Lily of the Valley, but they put them out. It's on a bulb and you can get either purple, maybe like a pink, and then also white. I've lost my train of thought with the name of that flower. It reminds me of that flower a little bit because it smells just like spring. But unlike something like paper whites or daffodils and things like that, which can go a bit animalic, this flower doesn't. I'm almost thinking of hydrangea or wisteria, but it's not those. Anyway, it'll come to me. But that's what this fragrance reminds me of. The Profundis is so good. So amazing, actually. I love it. If you gotta like green fragrances, you gotta like green floral fragrances. Hyacinth, that's the word I'm looking for. There's a little bit of a hyacinth-like smell in this. There might even be hyacinth, but from what I remember, because it smells like hyacinth, but from what I remember, it's chrysanthemum. Let me know if you're a fan of the note of chrysanthemum. And have you tried De Profundis? Add a comment below. Do you guys like these bottles? I don't really like those bottles. I actually like these bottles more, but I also don't like these bottles because they do wobble. I don't like wobbly bottles that much. It needs to have a bit of a presence, and this is so thin, it can just go like that. So it's a bummer. But next, we're going to talk about ECRIN de Fumerie. So I bought this quite early on when it was first launched. While I was in Paris, I specifically went to the store and bought it. And it sure enough turned out to be a great kind of a gourmand tobacco fragrance. It's got a lot of chocolatey cacao type notes. It's a bit boozy. And it's also smoky. And it's a great gourmand by Serge Lutens. It might come off a bit simplistic, but also, I feel like now that I'm smelling it again, it's been a while. I've worn quite a bit of it, as you can see. I've got a video on the channel for this, and then also I think a short with the tobacco fragrances from Serge Lutens. This is giving me a slight bit Middle Eastern styling to it all of a sudden today, and a bit of an oudiness. I'm not sure why. And that's kind of giving me a Middle Eastern vibe, but I didn't get that when I was first wearing this for a long time, using up quite a bit of it. That's kind of disappearing. The chocolate is kind of taking over. It's becoming more chocolatey. But another great release from the house of Serge Lutens. Definitely, I think it's my second favorite tobacco fragrance now, next to Fumerie Turque. And again, there's a fourth one, and I'm forgetting what the name is, but I recently discovered that there's a fourth tobacco fragrance. Which was that? But this ECRIN de FUMEE is really, really awesome. So yummy, but kind of fiery and smoky. Let me know if you're a fan of it. Also, add a comment and let me know, when did you discover Serge Lutens? What year? How long have you been in into fragrances? And when did you first discover Serge Lutens? But the next fragrance we're going to talk about is Féminité du Bois. You know what? When I first bought this also in Germany at a department store, some of the samples that they had given me, one of them was Nuit du Cellophane, which I thought was also a really great fragrance. And I haven't bought that fragrance. I think that might be one that I pick up soon. It's gorgeous. But there was Nuit de Cellophane, the jasmine focused fragrance, because there was a bit of an indolic touch about it from what I remember sampling when they had first given me those samples. But Féminité du Bois, it's a very classic smell. It doesn't smell classic, but it has a kind of a, like I'm remembering, if it's been around for a while. It smells fairly modern to me, actually. The plum is quite juicy and plump. And also the sandalwood is kind of creamy and woody. There's a light wood shavings kind of a smell with the sandalwood, but it also has this kind of a creamy texture to it. And some other fruits come in, some spices. The combo is great. I don't think it's very feminine, even though the name says Féminité du Bois. Again, there's been unisex fragrances made that smell kind of similar to this that are targeted unisex. So I think it might turn off some men with the name, but I didn't have a problem with it. I quite enjoyed it. Féminité du Bois from the house of Serge Lutens. And do you enjoy the plumminess in that one? Add a comment below. But the next fragrance, masterpiece, I think. FEMINITE. Really, really awesome. This is actually my second bottle. This is my third bottle. I've been a fan of this. For a while, it was discontinued, and they didn't move it into this right away. So I kept this, and then I found out they were bringing it in here. I got excited, but now I have a bottle like this. So this is an older bottle, but let's try it out of this. What I like about this one, it's a nice juxtaposition of cold freshness and warmth and fiery kind of touches. So it's got these kind of piney-like notes, frost-covered, snow-covered. But maybe you're at some cabin, it's snowing outside, you got the smell of the pine trees, you've got because it's, I think it translates to girl with the pins, FEMINITE. So there's a pine note in there, but it's kind of a cold and frosty pine. Fire, place burning inside, and you've got some kind of smokiness from the fire because there's incense in here. And there's some, maybe you're like having some kind of a fruity dessert. Maybe it's like dried fruits that you're munching on or something. So you've got that sweetness and warmth coming in against the frosty coolness of the snow-covered pine trees. So good. So good. What a unique smell it is. I've turned this one on to so many people. They love it. And I love the way the fragrance develops. It starts off a bit cool, and then it warms up. But what I really like about this is the dried fruits. There's a dried fruits note in this. That's super yummy. But against the dried fruits in here against the pine gives me a little bit of a sappy experience. Remember, some pine trees has resins and sap dripping from it. It acts a bit like that. But it's a really nice combo of freshness, fresher notes, warm notes together, made for an amazing fragrance. I think definitely one of the best fragrances ever created, FEMINITE. I absolutely love this fragrance. Been a big fan. Third bottle, second bottle, and of course my first bottle has been used up for a while now. Let me know if you agree with me. Do you enjoy Féminité du Bois as much as I do? I'm sorry, FEMINITE. 2 Fs. Actually, the thing is, when I was putting down the notes, there's actually 4 or 5 fragrances here starting with F. So it's Féminité du Bois, FEMINITE, 5 o'clock à gingembre, Fleur d'Oranger, Fumerie Turque. So there's 5 fragrances with the letter F, starting with the letter F. But FEMINITE to me is, like I said, a masterpiece, one of the best fragrances ever created. So 5 o'clock à gingembre is next. I also have a 50 ml OG bottle, but keep mentioning that the logos are different, as you can see. The one with Muscs Koublai Khan is the older logo. This other one is the newer logo. And these are even further new. These black labels are fairly new. And the 100 mLs are also fairly new. Not as old as some of these bottles that I'm showing you. But this is a gingerbready kind of ginger-focused fragrance, recently featured in my ginger fragrances deep dive video. If you are into ginger and you want to discover more ginger fragrances, please go catch that video. So there were two ginger fragrances that I really was into. This is one of them. Not one of the ginger fragrances that got me into enjoying ginger, but I was really into this. Around the same time, I was also into L'Artisan's Tea for Two. L'Artisan's Tea for Two got discontinued. It's been discontinued and brought back a couple times. Sadly, it's gone now. That's why I didn't feature it in the deep dive video. I really enjoyed that one just a little bit more than this, but this one also gave me somewhat of a similar experience to that as well. There's a kind of a gingerbread man kind of idea here. But the ginger note is an intoxicating note. It's an addicting note. I really love the way ginger smells in its raw form and also in fragrances. And this one smells like the ginger has a freshness, but it's mixed with like warmth here. That's why it's giving me a little bit of a gingerbready effect. I think I get it more with the L'Artisan Tea for Two. Even though that's called Tea for Two and there's tea in the notes, there was a gingerbread note in that. Here, it's more about the ginger, less gingerbread, but I get a little bit of that gingerbready effect in this as well. So good. So good. This is amazing, actually. The more I smell things, sometimes the more I really enjoy them. And again, going back to the Serge Lutens, I think their fragrances are so cool. They're not made like Frederic Malle, where they're like beefy and robust and intense experiences. There's a subtlety about these fragrances. They're not as loud as those fragrances, but sometimes I think to myself, I think Serge Lutens has more unique fragrances in comparison to Frederic Malle. I know Frederic Malle has a lot of like really awesome releases, but here they're so true and original, and not many brands release fragrances like this. These are awesome. Big fan. So that is 5 o'clock à gingembre. And as I said, I've got the original there and the new one here. So next we've got Fleur d'Oranger. This is it. Lots of kind of amber orange colored juice. So this is an orange flower or orange blossom balm, but on skin, cumin pops up, or caraway, whatever the note is. So it develops into providing a slight sweaty funk against the brightness and the soapy qualities of the Fleur d'Oranger, or the orange blossom, orange flower. So if you do not like cumin, stay away from this one. If you like it, try it, because it's a nice contrast to the gorgeousness of the prettiness of the orange blossom or orange flower, to the dirtiness and the spiciness of the cumin. It's a bit pulpy, and it's a bit juicy as well. I think there's some citruses, but it's developing into adding some spices. It's super fresh though. And I think that's a really nice contrast, because it's kind of like the Beauty and the Beast kind of a thing. You've got the beautiful orange blossom in here and the beastly kind of note of cumin. But it's more about the orange blossom, less about the cumin. It depends on how sensitive you are to cumin, because if you're really sensitive to it, this is not so strong here. The cumin is a supporting player. It's not like in your face. But again, if you are super sensitive to it, you're going to be like, that smells like armpit, which to me it doesn't, because it's quite soapy. And because of that orange blossom being soapy and clean, they added a little dirty to it to give it a unique twist to the fragrance. So lovely. Lovely, wonderful fragrance. Fleur d'Oranger from the house of Serge Lutens. Let me know if you're a fan of it. let's talk about Fumerie Turque. This might be my #2 favorite from this house. I've reignited my passion for this. Remember I said I first wore a bell jar bottle of this, and I had run out of it for a long time. And then I finally bought one last year in this longer black bottle. And again, I don't really care for these bottles. What I like about this tobacco fragrance, it's not a smoky tobacco. It's once again leafy and also a bit musky. There's a slight funk in this. That's what I like about it. There's a rawness about it. It's almost like whoever has been farming the tobacco leaves, their sweat has kind of transferred from their body to the leaves, and you're smelling it together. Oh, it's also kind of ambery and warm under there. It's so amazing. Really, really awesome. Fumerie Turque is so good. Actually, it smells so amazing. It's just almost like an orgasmic kind of smell. But yeah, it does have a bit of funk to it. I wouldn't call this like a... To me, it has a little bit of like a musky... Just imagine the musk that's in Born to Stand Out's Filthy Musk, or Sadonaso from the house of Nasomato. It's got a little bit of that musk in there, mixed in with the tobacco, the leafy kind of grassy, woody tobacco leaves. So amazing. Really, really awesome. It's so good. Really. Let me know if you're a fan of Fumerie Turque. It's called Fumerie, but I don't get the smokiness from it. And you guys know the word perfume, perfume, comes from FUMEE. And I think this is kind of giving, like, it's kind of playing with that kind of a theme, I think, is what I'm trying to say. But Fumerie Turque, man, it's amazing. I hope you guys get to try it. It is one of the best fragrances out there. Hands down. And I like its muskiness too. I wouldn't call it super animalic. But one of those fragrance samples that I had received when I first bought a bottle of Féminité du Bois was for this fragrance, Jeux de PEAU. And what I liked about this, it was the first time I had smelled bread in a fragrance. But what I also like about it, it has anise and licorice. So it smells like bread. You don't get the bread note that much. That's what I liked about it. So when I bought Féminité du Bois and I got this big collection of samples from the house of Serge Lutens, everything was smelling so unique. I was like so in heaven. Like, I've never smelled anything like this. It smells so good. And this was like probably the third or fourth, I might have bought Jeux de PEAU as my third, Ambre Sultan as my fourth, but it was a toss-up between those two fragrances. But I have a feeling that Jeux de PEAU is now in the bell jar. Do you guys know? But if you like the bread note and you like kind of a licoricey anise note, it's a gourmand, but a bready gourmand. You've got to get your nose on this. It's so amazing. I like how that licorice's spiciness contrasts against the doughiness of the bread note in here. So unique, so unique. They don't make fragrances like this anymore, do they? Jeux de PEAU, let me know if you're familiar with it. One of the best from Serge Lutens, for sure. All right. Next, I have a full review of this one on the channel. It's Le Participe PASSE. Let me know if you're familiar with this one. It's been a while since I've actually worn this. I wore it for a while when I reviewed it. Some of my Serge Lutens videos are quite old, by the way, because I haven't been doing videos on Serge Lutens. I was doing them a long time ago, then I kind of stopped. So this one is a very unique, ambery, resinous, spicy experience. There's a fiery hotness about it, and I feel like, not that it's using chili peppers, there's some kind of a chili pepper-like spiciness against like major resins, because for sure it's acting resinous and ambery in the dry down, but along the way you've got this hot spice effect happening. Not my all-time favorite from the house. There are some duds for sure. But I enjoyed it for a while. I think right now, Féminite and Fumerie Turque are top notch. Ambre Sultan also. Those are some amazing, awesome offerings. Even 5 o'clock à gingembre. ECRIN de FUMEE is good too. But Le Participe Passe, let me know if you guys are familiar with that one and do you enjoy it? I've worn quite a bit of it, as you can see. I've kind of gotten tired of it. So here's one that I think, I don't even know if they still have this collection. These are kind of the watery collection fragrances. L'eau d'armoire. This is utilizing the note of armoire. I believe it's mugwort or like absinthe or something similar. Do enjoy this note because it's kind of connected to anise, licorice, davana, and these kind of like herbal, aromatic, spicy notes. There's a plant that grows on Northern California coast, especially when I go down to Monterey near Pebble Beach. They're all along the coast. It's Artemisia, so it's kind of like these kind of plants where it has a kind of an herbal quality to it, mixed in with like a licoriciness, slightly boozy, because absinthe is boozy kind of thing. But it's a very fresh fragrance and super green and aromatic, so it's a very invigorating and clean, but a bit green and herbal, boozy and spicy. So this is one of the watery fragrances from the house. It's the only one that I've actually reviewed on the channel. It's quite simplistic. There's not too much to say about it. But again, it's got the kind of like the Artemisia, Davana, licorice, anise, absinthe, all these kind of different types of notes come to mind with that. But it's quite herbal, very spicy, a bit green, and super awesome smelling. But very light, as I said. The next fragrance is L'Orpheline. This is the new one that I picked up when I was on a trip to France a couple months ago. So this has been out for a while. I reacted to this so differently at that time compared to other times I've smelled it. Now, when I got to I was in the south of France mostly. By the time I got to France, it had cooled off a bit. It was still warm and quite muggy. I think that muggy humidity is what made me react to this fragrance so differently than how I had reacted before. The fragrance came alive and was super sexy. It gave me a little bit of vintage vibes, a little bit, because it's musky, but it's a strange combo of styles. It's very musky and it's also kind of a fougere style because there's lavender in here. So it's a bit herbal, but beneath it, there's like something patchouli-esque with musk. It's a very unique fragrance that's addictive. And for me, as I said, in the heat, in the humidity, it really, really shines. It smells so awesome. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't. L'Orpheline, let me know if you're familiar with it. But yeah, it really shined when it was humid out there. I think the kind of notes that are in here, the fact that I got patchouli, the lavender, maybe because also I went there for the lavender harvest. Lavender was in my mind and my sense palette, and I reacted to it. But no, I think it was because of the humidity. And I've noticed also in travels, when I travel during the heat or the hot months, fragrances do have a different experience in the heat and humidity compared to like cool where I live. It's fairly cool. It doesn't really heat up or get humid that much. But humidity brings out the smells even more. And here, that's what's going on with this fragrance, I think. But it's quite awesome. But you definitely notice the lavender, like the herbal qualities of the lavender definitely shine. So that is L'Orpheline from the house of Serge Lutens. Let me know if you're familiar with that. Then we're going to Muscs Koublai Khan, the big bad boy. A lot of people say this smells like sex. If you guys want fragrances that smell like sex, you got to try this one. And I just sprayed myself. Whew, that is intense. Whoa. And this is also true with fragrances like this. It's a bit warm and it smells even naughtier now than it does when it's cool. But it's super musky. And I've got that muskiness that I get from Fumerie Turque under here. But with Fumerie Turque, it's not as dirty as Muscs Koublai Khan. But it really literally smells like sex. Dirty. It's quite dirty and sweaty. Again, this is probably high up on the list of a lot of folks that enjoy musky fragrances. And even though I was saying earlier that the fragrances are not super loud of this house, I wouldn't say everything is like that. They have a little bit of a reserved quality to them. I wouldn't say they're like wimps or anything. But I think Serge Lutens Muscs Koublai Khan, use caution when spraying, because I've got a ton of it on my finger now, and all I smell is funk. But it's good. It's quite good. With that one also, it's like different seasons smell better. Would never wear that when it's hot and humid. Never. Because you're going to smell like funk all over, and you're going to smell like, people are going to smell you smelling like funk coming down the street or hall or something. So use caution. So this whole idea of wearing fragrances in certain temperatures, one example by Perfume Roma, Acqua di Sale. That fragrance does not smell good on me in the summertime. It smells better on me in the wintertime. In the wintertime, the fishiness doesn't come out. In the summertime, the fishiness comes out, and I smell rotten fish. In the wintertime, it's more like salty kind of patchouli fragrance, which I don't get what causes that, but I think it's the humidity that just makes the oils not bloom as much. I mean, when it's winter, it doesn't bloom as much as it does in the summer when it's really hot outside. All right, the next fragrance I bought earlier this year, it's Serge Noir. So Serge Noir was also in a bottle like this. I remember a friend bought a bottle of it from Barney's here. So they moved it into this collection, so it's in a bottle like this, but Serge Noir right there. So I remember this not being as sweaty as much as it was back then. It's now quite sweaty. I mean, even a friend who likes more daring fragrances told me they couldn't tolerate it. It was too sweaty smelling now. But I really liked it. Had to have a bottle. It's super spicy. Super spicy and a bit peppery. But underneath it all, there's a funk lurking, ready to come out. And when you spritz it on skin, it'll pop through. It's a bit ferocious. It's got the word noir, and it makes sense. It's a dark fragrance. Under there, there's also ambery, woody, spicy touches, smoky touches as well. But really awesome. I'm glad I finally have this, because I've always wanted it ever since that friend bought it from Barney's like 7-8 years ago. Oh, wow. Now, the thing that is really prominent here, there's cumin. Quite a bit of it. And it's finally starting to show its face. And on skin, it's going to be 200% cumin. So you got to be into cumin to really appreciate this. This has a sweatiness, but it's not as animalic as Muscs Koublai Khan, just to be honest. It's more spicy, and cumin is a spice, obviously. But a lot of people connect cumin with sweat, so there is a sweatiness about it. So that's Serge Noir, really, really awesome. Let me show you my Musc. Well, I already did show you the Muscs Koublai Khan in the older bottle. So this is vintage. I will have to cherish that and not use it. I usually keep it way in the back behind all of these bottles. So, because that's the original formula. But next, it's Un Bois Vanille. Sadly, Un Bois Vanille is not my favorite vanilla fragrance, so it's not a top favorite Serge Lutens fragrance, unfortunately. This is also bought when Barney's was going out of business, 25 bucks. It seems like it's going to be turning. Although it seems a bit more vanillic than normal. I think it's on its way out. But I haven't noticed Un Bois Vanille to be smelling this vanillic. I thought it was more woods. The vanilla never came out. So this has been sitting for a while. I don't know how old it is because this was a used bottle as they were selling it like this when Barney's was going out of business in early 2020. But somehow the vanilla has blossomed and bloomed in there and kind of cut through the woods. Hey, I'm liking it now a little more. I'm going to pause the video and go grab my regular bottle. All right, I've got a regular bottle. I've had this for a while, but I used to have a 50 ml bottle. That one was done. But I bought this, then I found this for 25 and it was full and I couldn't resist. 25 bucks for a half full bottle. Let's see how it smells in this bottle. Yeah, when Barney's was clearing out, I bought a ton of fragrances from there. I think I did a haul video, a Barney's clearance haul video. You might search the channel. Huh. It smells pretty vanillic, but more woody here. But still, I remember this fragrance being much woodier for some reason. It's kind of enjoyable. Still not my favorite fragrance. I still prefer FEMINITE and Fumerie Turque more. But I don't mind this fragrance. It seems a bit more simplistic. There's a fluffy marshmallowy quality about it as well. Okay. Let me know if you're a fan of Un Bois Vanille. And the last fragrance I also bought from Barney's, but without a cap and no name tag on it. This is VETIVER Oriental. It's the last fragrance I'm talking about. I know I think some of you wanted me to talk about the iris, which I don't have. Maybe that should be on my list next. But the Nuit de Cellophane is also sounding great. But let's talk about the Vetiver Oriental and then talk about what should be on the list next. So this Vetiver gives me a little bit of Fat Electrician vibes from État Libre d'Orange. I mean, it's got Vetiver, plus it's got the word Oriental, referring to the kind of notes that they used to use, the ambery notes and things like that. So there's a sweetness surrounding the Vetiver note here. It's quite enjoyable. Like if you like your Vetiver straightforward, probably this is not what you should wear. You should probably wear Guerlain's Vetiver. But if you want some things mixed in with the Vetiver, like something sweeter, because Fat Electrician by État Libre d'Orange mixes it like marron glacé or whipped chestnut or chestnut cream or something. So it adds a bit of a gourmand. So this is giving me that kind of a vibe a little bit, Vetiver Oriental. But that's really enjoyable. Really, really enjoyable. I didn't know that was that good. And Vetiver gets boring to me lately. But here it's quite enjoyable. But that's the last fragrance, guys. 19 total fragrances. Let's do a quick ranking. I'll do my top 5, okay? So, as I said, FEMINITE, number 1. My top favorite. Fumerie Turque, number 2. And it's really, really close to FEMINITE. It might end up catching up to it. It might. We shall see. Let's see. I don't want to make it. So, Ambre Sultan for sure at number 3. Ambre Sultan is awesome. Really, really great. I'm going to put 5 o'clock à Gingembre at number 4. L'Orpheline at number 5. But L'Orpheline and 5 o'clock à Gingembre are kind of competing with one another. De Profundis after L'Orpheline. Let's see. Serge Noir after De Profundis. We've got Fleur d'Oranger I think I'm going to put Vetiver Oriental after Serge Noir, Fleur d'Oranger after Vetiver Oriental. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And my number 10 would have to be ECRIN de FUMEE. And here we'll go to number 12. ECRIN de FUMEE, Féminité du Bois, CHERGUI. So those are my 12 favorite fragrances from Serge Lutens. The rest just will come after it. But guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. Do let me know what I should pick up next. The Iris Silver. There's also Fille de Berlin. I think it's the rose fragrance. I haven't kept up with the rose fragrances. But let me know what I should pick up. Name 4 or 5. And I'll decide between the 4 or 5 and buy one on this next trip that I'll be headed to Europe and come back after. So we'll make the 20th fragrance. Or if you mention it, I'll buy it. I can probably buy it from the discounters as well, because sometimes some of the fragrances are at the discounters and it's full retail there and it's cheaper at the discounters here. But what do you guys think about these fragrances? Are you a fan of this house? Have you not discovered this house yet? Again, as I was saying, there's a ton of discounts available. In fact, I'll tag a lot of these fragrances. So if you're in the market or you're shopping for any of them, you can buy them directly from the channel. But let me know, what are your favorites? Let me know ones that you do not like. And if you don't like the brand also, why do you not like the brand? And tell me why you like the brand, because the brand is a great brand. I think it's one of the best niche houses out there. But thanks so much for watching. As I said, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Click that bell icon as well so you'll be notified for every future video. And give a thumbs up for this video so it'll help with the algorithm. See you guys later. Bye-bye.